What's up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. Alright, today's video, we're going to be talking about Nubia, and more specifically, we're going to be talking about why Nubia, the queen of the Amazons, is joining the Justice League.
You can't see me, you Stevie, wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie, and make it look easy.
To talk about this, I kind of got to give a little bit of clarification, because a lot of people tend to get the various and sundry different versions of Nubia confused. Now that's fair because DC honestly has never really done a good job of clarifying which version of Nubia is which. However, that's what I'm here for. So before we get into everything, let me just make a few things very clear. Yes, there are various different versions of the Nubia character. The version of Nubia that I'm talking about in this video is the Prime Earth version of Nubia, and I know that probably sounds crazy to some people who aren't exactly up to speed on how DC Comics continuity works, but what you more or less need to know is that the Prime universe is basically the main continuity universe of DC Comics that was created during the DC Comics event Flashpoint. So once Flashpoint happened, when Flash went back in time, saved his mom, and the whole thing with Reverse Flash,
it was me, Barry.
That whole thing, after all of that was wrapped up, the universe that existed after the events of Flashpoint has been the Prime Earth universe. And then of course, the New 52 universe got merged with the previous continuity, which was basically the New Earth continuity, so a lot of that got smashed together. And for those who don't know what New Earth is basically everything after Crisis on Infinite Earths from back in like the 1980s. And then there was Earth 1, which was basically DC Comics continuity prior to Crisis on Infinite Earths. So that's just kind of the quick breakdown of that. But just so you know, yeah, the version that we're talking about is the Prime Earth version of Nubia. That also brings up, well, what about the other Nubias? Well, for one, the Nubia that I think a lot of people tend to refer to when they talk about Nubia is the Earth 1 version of Nubia, who no longer exists. The Wonder Woman who first appeared in Wonder Woman number 204 in 1973, who was the quotey fingers black twin sister of Wonder Woman, formed from black clay that Mars, which technically later became Ares, had brainwashed into a warrior under his control and his command to defeat Wonder Woman and help him conquer the Amazons. That version of Wonder Woman made her last in-continuity appearance in comics in Supergirl number 9 in 1974. So yeah, she's gone. Once Crisis on Infinite Earths happened and that continuity was completely wiped away and everything switched over to the New Earth continuity, yeah, that version of Nubia doesn't exist anymore. We would later see Nubia reappear under the New Earth continuity in Wonder Woman Annual Volume 2, number 8 in 1999. This version of Nubia is not Wonder Woman's quotey fingers black twin sister formed from black clay, but the original winner of the Tournament of Grace and Wonder, thus making her the champion of Themyscira prior to Diana Prince's Wonder Woman. This version is also different in that her name is not necessarily spelled differently, but she has an apostrophe between the new and the Bia in her name. Now, don't get too attached to this version of Wonder Woman either. She lasted just barely as long as the original Nubia, only really appearing in 3 actual in-continuity issues. Everything else that she has ever appeared in has either been a source book or something similar. But we would last see her in Wonder Woman Volume 2, number 155, also in 1999. And in this, we would see her after briefly aligning herself with Wonder Woman, returning to Hades to resurrect her dead lover, and she is never to be seen or heard from again. Now, I know what some of you are also probably thinking, well, what about the Nubia of Injustice? I'm not really here to talk about the Nubia of the Injustice continuity because that's a completely different timeline and is not even in actual continuity. It's a completely separate Earth that has nothing to do with the comings and goings and bearings of Earth 1 or New Earth, or even Prime Earth for that matter. So yeah, it's a completely different Nubia and doesn't really, in my eyes, count towards anything that we're talking about here. But now that I've said all that, let's talk about the Nubia that we're actually here to talk about, which is the very same Nubia of Prime Earth that made her debut in Wonder Woman Volume 5, number 75 in 2019. This version of Nubia is not the quotey fingers black twin sister of Wonder Woman formed from black clay, nor is she the original winner of the Tournament of Grace and Wonder. However, she is a winner of the Tournament of Grace and Wonder, and thus is the champion of Themyscira, who guards Doom's doorway, which is the gateway that blocks all of the other monsters and demons and various and sundry other threats that could plague the Earth. This actually puts her more in line with the New Earth version of Wonder Woman, who kind of had a similar job. This version of Nubia is also a warrior princess, not that dissimilar from Diana, originally hailing from Madagascar, who was murdered by her best friend in an attempt to usurp the throne of their kingdom from her parents. And since she died at the hands of man's violence, she was reborn as an Amazon, but would be the last Amazon to emerge from the Well of Souls for many years, up until recently, due to the well being corrupted after Nubia's emergence. She's gone on to help Wonder Woman as an ally and confidant, even helping redeem the former Wonder Woman villain Medusa, as well as leading the nation of Themyscira in Hippolyta's absence, while she was also helping with Justice League stuff, as well as becoming the one true queen of the Amazons in the wake of Hippolyta's death and then her subsequent ascension to godhood. Now, with her newfound responsibility as being the queen of the Amazons, it would probably seem like Nubia would be way too damn busy to try to be working alongside the Justice League, as what was teased in the solicits for this upcoming November 29th Justice League Special #1, where it is cited one of the main attractions of this is that Nubia is joining the Justice League. Now, once again, it does seem like, yeah, she would be too busy to be doing that, but that's not exactly true. Now, while we do know that the character of Wonder Woman is, not around currently, thanks to the events of Dark Crisis, where Pariah and his dark multiverse League of Villains basically destroyed all of the core Justice League members, we do know that all of those members are going to be coming back. At least some of them will be coming back. A lot of the ones who we saw die in Dark Crisis #1 are all on the front cover of Justice League Special #1, maybe with the exception of John Stewart as Green Lantern, or as he is now known, the Emerald Knight. But yeah, Nubia being queen doesn't necessarily exclude her from being able to join the Justice League. As I stated earlier, Hippolyta, while being queen of the Amazons before her death and ascension to godhood, she was on the Justice League after the death, or rather the supposed death, of Wonder Woman after Dark Knight's death metal. Hippolyta operated as the Wonder Woman of the Justice League for a nice little clip there, number 59 by Brian Michael Bendis and David Marquez earlier in 2021. So if Hippolyta can be queen of the Amazons and work alongside the Justice League, it stands to reason Nubia could do the same thing. Now, the thing I find very interesting about this is that on the cover for Justice League Special #1, the roster of the Justice League is Batman, Superman, Aquaman, Martian Manhunter, Hawkgirl, Black Adam, Green Arrow, and Black Canary, as well as Wonder Woman herself. So it makes me wonder, why would you have two Wonder Women on the team? Like, you have both Diana Prince, you also have Nubia. Kind of seems like there's one too many Wonder Women on this team. However, I don't think Wonder Woman is going to be hanging around. I feel like Wonder Woman's going to wind up being busy once she gets back in the saddle. And I know some people are probably thinking, well, wait a minute, if all these characters are dead, why are Batman and Wonder Woman running around in their own comics right now? And the reasoning behind that is that, well, it's comics. That happens all the time. There's often times where characters are dead or otherwise displaced, and they still have ongoing comics that still tell their separate individual stories away from whatever is going on in the wider universe. So that's probably why that's happening. Another thing that I think is actually interesting here is that the solicits make a lot of mentions about the Earth 1 version of Nubia, stating that the character has a long history dating all the way back to 1972, when she was originally created by Robert Kanigher and Don Heck, which I think is just them putting respect on the names of the people who originally created the character, albeit the character is hella problematic in my eyes. But it does actually lead me to wonder if they're going to find some way to reveal how the Earth 1 and New Earth versions of the character were merged into this one, because that is something that does happen. We have seen this. This isn't going to be something unusual. We even saw during, what was it, Superman Rebirth, that the original version of Superman was merged into the current version of Superman. And then after the events of Doomsday Clock, the same thing happened. Everything got merged, all the continuity came back and was restored. So it does kind of lead one to wonder, well, what was up with those other two Nubias? Are we going to learn in this issue what the fate of those Nubias were? Are they somehow connected to this Nubia, or are they separate entities? Like, how is that going to work? We don't really know yet, but I'll very likely talk about it when it actually does come up. In the meantime, if you haven't been keeping up with the current state of Nubia, I do highly recommend you check out Stephanie Williams, Vita Ayala, and Aletha Martinez's Nubia and the Amazons 6-part series, as well as the current, and I think literally just wrapped up, Nubia, Queen of the Amazons 4-part series by Stephanie Williams and Aletha Martinez. Those are great comics and will give you a lot of ideas as to what's been going on with Nubia right now in greater detail. So yeah, highly recommend it. And if you have read them, let me know what you thought about each of those series. Keep it plus ultra and sound off in the comments.